Detroit just wrapped up. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Kyle Wolfe back with you for another video. I know I got grilled in the comments after my last video, talking about the schedule and, putting in a day race. It's not that I have a problem with the day race. It's just different. And, I'm just so used to them being Saturday nights. And I wasn't really trying to complain about it. It's just, I like the Saturday night races. However, looking back on it now, at the time of this recording, it's just after 7 o'clock here on the East Coast. So the race has been over for a little over an hour now. It is nice to have the race be done, have a few hours in the evening to just relax and wind down a bit and, kind of go over everything. But, I wasn't trying to come off as complaining or whatever. And I know you guys kind of ripped me in the comments as far as that and as far as the format change or the schedule change as far as the races went with the 250s and the 450s. I'm not trying to be a complainer. I'm just, throwing out the possible issues that I could see. Granted, there's issues that, could always come with, changing up anything or even, racing motorcycles in general. I get that. But just when you go away from the norm, that's the only thing that I see of things that could possibly go wrong, particularly when it comes to that 250 LCQ going right into the 250 main. But, I wasn't trying to sound complaining about it. I just, it's just going away from, as far as the riders are with their schedules. They know that schedule. Not that they can't adapt to it. It's just, they're programmed on a certain way, and even changing it up a little bit, where it's about a 15 to 20 minute difference. That means a lot to those guys. So that's the only reason I was saying any of that. But you guys ripped me pretty hard. Some of you guys ripped me pretty hard in the comments over it. But I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. But as far as the actual racing goes, it pretty much was true to what I said as far as the track went. Dirtworks did a great job of that track, and I'll keep praising Dirtworks over this. Just because, one, I know some of those guys. I've been around some of those guys, my entire life. And I know that they know what they're doing. And when people outside are influencing them on something or telling them a direction to go as far as the track prep, or when the riders are telling them, hey, this needs to be done, when it's clear that, what they're saying isn't exactly the right move, I'm gonna defend them and I'm gonna support them. As far as, they're the experts, and that's why I bring it up like I do. But Dirtworks did a great job keeping that track up. It did get very soft and rutted. It remained soft from the time they brought that dirt in all the way through the final 450 main event. It was soft. It was rutted. A lot of crashes, which we kind of figured was happening. But it really didn't end up as bad as I thought it was going to be, which was really good. And a lot of that was due to the Dirtworks and their track prep. We did have a lot of guys hit the ground tonight, even still, and some pretty hard crashes. Jeremy Martin, we all saw that heat race crash in the whoops, slammed his head back very hard. That was a brutal hit, vicious hit. I've gotten word that pretty much he's all good. He was definitely concussed. He wasn't really sure where he was when he woke up. All in all, he's fine. The rest of his body's fine, but I'd imagine he'd be missing the next race or two, if not more, underneath the concussion protocol, just because he was out, and you saw it on camera that he was knocked out. Another guy, he didn't even make it through qualifying. He didn't even make it out of free practice. And Jett Reynolds, and I got a feel for that kid. 2022, he comes in as the new PC kid, gets hurt in press day, so he doesn't even get to make it into free practice wherever they were that year, St. Louis or whatever the race was that year. Misses that year, doesn't do Supercross in 23, moves over to the Club MX FXR Muck-Off Yamaha team. From everything that I heard, he had a great run going at Club. He was looking great on the bike. And then he has a crash in free practice today. It sounds like a broken collarbone for him. And I just feel bummed for that kid because I know he's trying. As badly as his, career has been, from ending in amateurs to now going into the pros, it's been a very, lackluster, not even lackluster, it's been almost non-existent of a career for him over the last 5 years. And I just got a feel for that kid, because he does put in the work. And that's just, sometimes we don't get the luck of the draw. Hopefully, he can get that fixed and maybe make it back for the last few races before the end of Supercross. But definitely an unfortunate situation for Jett Reynolds. 250 main, that was crazy. When they showed the start and everybody on the inside just piled up and went crazy, I literally sat where I was sitting. I went to a pizza joint to watch the race with some people, and I literally said there's one pro circuit guy that made it through out of that pileup, and it was the one guy that you never would have expected to make it through, and it was Austin Forkner. Not only did he make it out of that pileup, but he led that thing wire to wire in a brilliant ride, and that was the Austin Forkner of old. He didn't leave him. He didn't take off with blazing speed and just check out, but he managed that race, and that was a very smart, very methodical Austin Forkner. That was a pro's pro, ride right there from Austin Forkner. And if he keeps that up, these guys are gonna be in for a rough show for the rest of this 2024 season, especially with the guys that got caught up in that first turn pileup. Deegan, McAdoo, Hammaker, Vial, those guys that were in that title contention conversation, they're already starting way back in the points. I mean, I think the best guy out of that whole situation was McAdoo by the time it was all said and done, or maybe Vial. But those guys are going to have a lot of work to do, especially when Forkner's riding as well as he is. Anstey had a great ride. That was phenomenal from him. He was very smooth. He didn't make it very many mistakes. He had to work his way into second. That was a great ride from Anstey. And from everything that I've heard, he's been looking very fast at the test track. And the guys that have been reporting how fast he's been going at the track are the Star Yamaha guys, because when they go up, which isn't a very far drive from where the Star facility is at the old goat farm over to MTF, which is where Anstey's been training. It's not very far of a drive, so they've been riding together a lot over these last few weeks. They're the ones that have been saying Max has been flying at the track. So if they're saying that, Max has got speed, and he definitely showed it tonight. And then the rookie Daxton Bennick, after everything that had happened with everybody else, solid ride, worked his way up into that third place position. He dispatched Chance Hymas, who ended up crashing and going back. But great ride from Bennick, and Daxton was another guy that they said was going to be on the move, and he was going to surprise a lot of people this year and possibly get up onto the podium at some point this year, and he does it in the very first race. So good on him. Like I said, the guys that were in that title contention conversation, like Deegan, Vial, the other two pro circuits of Hammaker and McAdoo, they've got work to do, and we're already seeing that McAdoo's got the speed. He won that heat race, so we're seeing that he's got the speed. Now he just needs the luck to go with it. And unfortunately, Hammaker and Vial were the ones that kind of triggered that pileup. Really, it was just a racing incident, but that really caused that chain reaction. And unfortunately, Evan Ferry got the worst of that, it looks like, and his head went slamming into that wall. So that was a bad deal for him. So hopefully he's okay. He definitely pulled off after that one, but good on him and Jalek Swoll for Triumph to get both bikes into the main event on the first crack. Jalek showed speed on that bike. It wasn't great speed. He was around that top 10 range, and that 9, 10, 11 range. So I mean, that's commendable for him, especially on a brand new bike, and they're still working the kinks out on that thing. So good on those guys, but definitely a lot of mixed bag of results, of course, which is pretty atypical of the 250 class in Supercross. 450s. It was the Jett Lawrence show from the drop of the gate. He went wire to wire on that thing and re-solidified himself into that conversation. Not that he really had fallen out of it, but when you go a win and then 3 straight races off of the podium, everybody starts to talk a little bit. Yeah, I know. We had 2 less than stellar races, weather-wise, really, really muddy in San Francisco. A little bit better, but still kind of mud, pretty tacky, a lot of ruts in San Diego. But then the Triple Crown, where everyone kind of thought a start and short races was going to do him good, really went the opposite, and especially in that first race when he tangled with Malcolm and got sent off the track. Good rebound for Jett. He really needed that, and now he's second in the points behind Chase. 1 point off of him, another point ahead of Aaron, who drops to third. Sexton was right there with Jett from the drop of the gate, and he stayed with him for the first few laps, of course. But then either he was making mistakes or Jett just found better lines and was steadily pulling away. We didn't really get to see it much on camera. But Jett owned that race, but Chase was solid in second, and then Kenny had to work his way through into that number 3 position. So, those 3 guys really showed up when it counted. They got the good starts. Kenny got the worst start out of those 3, but he got a good enough start ahead of everybody else and worked his way through the field. Anderson, I don't know what happened to him at the beginning of that race, but once Plessinger got to him and got around him, something lit a fire underneath him because he dropped the hammer and took off. And the only other guy that beat him, Webb, and Cooper got the bad start too. He just didn't end up. I think if Webb would have gotten a better start, he could have had something for Jett at the end of that race, because how Webb is, especially when the track gets rough, it gets rutted, it gets really technical and challenging. Later in the race, that last 5 to 7 minutes, Webb pours it on. So I think with a better start, he'd have been in better shape, but he didn't get that start. He was outside of the top 10. And then Anderson was 5th after losing some spots and then rallying. He put on a really strong ride. Plessinger got himself back into 6th after a bad start, and he passed Anderson. Anderson got him back and took off, but then Aaron kept rallying, which is great to see from him. He's keeping up the charge, and it drew him up into Ferrandis. He got past Ferrandis and ended up with the 6th position. Now he's only 2 points in back of the lead as far as the points were concerned. The biggest loser on tonight, unfortunately, was Tomac, and he's got to be sick or hurt, something. I can't think of anything wrong with that bike. He wasn't looking down at the bike, but something really was going wrong with Eli tonight, and I don't know. That's going to spell a problem for him. If he's hurt, that's bad news, and I'm hoping it's something other than the leg. Because if it has anything to do with that Achilles, that might be the end of Eli, and I really hope it is. And it was so cool seeing him get that final race win last week in the Triple Crown. I just hope it, whatever he's dealing with isn't something serious. He can rectify the problem, very, very quickly. One guy I want to point out that I, feel for, my heart goes out to him. I mean, he seems fine. He's already posted on social media and stuff. But Cade Clayson going, from fighting for a spot out of that LTQ to sticking it into the ground, chest into the bars, over the bars. And anybody that's ever been in that position before knows how that feeling is, knows what that feels like. I've done it before. I'm sure everybody watching has done that before. That hurt to watch it, let alone probably what he felt, I'm sure. But I'm glad he was at least able to get on the bike, either finish the race or pull off whatever he did afterwards, after he finally got up and got back on the bike. But that was probably the hit of the night, other than maybe Jeremy's head. It was brutal for sure. Another one that moment that I want to hit on tonight is that 250 LCQ. Cullen Park, whatever happened to him in the heat race, and he got a bad start in the LCQ, but man, he rallied. He was definitely the fastest guy on that track, but just him having that DNF in the heat race, he had to have an outside gate pick, and it just didn't end up well for him, of course. But he rode through. Well, when he passed Garrett Hoffman in the last corner, those two are buddies, and I know that because I've gone golfing with Cullen before. When the Snowshoe ISDE golf tournament happens, I've golfed with Cullen before in that thing, and he and the Phoenix guys have called Garrett to talk with him, razz on him, whatever, as we're playing golf. And so I know those two are buddies. And you could tell when they rode around the next corner, Garrett was giving the, you took money out of my pocket tonight gesture to Cullen, and those two are buddies. And it was just so ironic that it was, a friendly pass that, was going to put one of them into the main and the other one bumped out. But hopefully Cullen's okay. I texted him. I haven't heard anything back yet. I know he had problems in that heat race and that he didn't make it. I don't even think he made it halfway through that main event before, DNFing or pulling off whatever happened. They didn't show it on the broadcast, of course, but I'm hoping he's okay. Hopefully I get a word back from him soon. But what a wild night in Detroit. Other than the Jett Lawrence show, that was some great racing, and it was fun to watch, and it was definitely interesting. And now we get another West race. And the benefit that these East guys have is they just got to race. Now they've got 2 weeks before they do it all over again in Dallas. Because we go to Arizona next week, and then it's the free week, the bye week, the week off, the following week, and then the week after that, the last weekend of February, they go to Dallas before we all head to Daytona. So, great racing. Jett's the first 1 to 2. I don't think that means anything yet. I think we need to get 2 or 3 more races, see what happens with everybody before we kind of narrow in on championship contention in that 450 class. But it's been fun to watch so far, and I'm ready to see the next 12 rounds. But thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe, share it around. You guys know what to do, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.